Okay, Betsy, kick us off.
Welcome to the show. You're watching or listening to the Wow Pod. I'm Betsy.
And I'm Jared. And,
we're going to talk the Finders tonight.
Yes.
But first...
The Finders Cult.
The Finders Cult. Not the Finders as in, like, there's a new website where they are, like, headhunters for big corporations called the Finders. Although,
we will get into that. But, okay, there's still the explosion that is Kanye West. Kanye... possibly our president in 2 years West.
an hour ago, his hard-earned honorary degree from the Art Institute of Chicago was rescinded. He can add that to his repertoire. He didn't attend a single day. He got an honorary degree. How's this going to affect his resume?
Yeah, that's
detrimental to future jobs.
That's the damaging part. Okay. Again, you weren't here. We went on. I brought my son on, and we did a quick over the weekend chat. I think that Kanye. We know he's bipolar. He's actually been
diagnosed,
hospitalized for it. I think he is in a manic state right now, and I think that Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes are abusing that manic state.
Ooh, taking advantage of.
So. How this went down is okay. Timeline. Kanye was invited to Thanksgiving dinner by Donald Trump.
Okay.
So Kanye took the opportunity to invite one of Trump's previous advisors and Nick Fuentes.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Nick Fuentes.
I am.
He showed up, and that's where the big ruckus happens.
The big controversy, yes.
And Nick Fuentes is a white nationalist.
Yes.
And
he is proud of that.
I don't know if he's KKK or any of that stuff, but he is a white nationalist. He speaks about it openly. He wants to separate everyone. So, yeah. But I think, and I don't know what the game is. So, when Milo Yiannopoulos went on to Tim Pool's show about 3 weeks ago, he said Trump voters want revenge. But he didn't say against who.
Okay. So,
could it be, in a roundabout way, he's mad at Trump for whatever perceived wrongs Trump did, and so he's getting revenge that way? Or what is his motive for jumping on that bandwagon? And this old Trump advisor, when she joins this group, I think it's a lady. She was like she was in charge of his election run, I think the first time or something. When she joins this group, she sees Milo Yiannopoulos. Okay, all right. Media personality, super friendly to Trump, humana. But when you see Nick Fuentes, even if Fuentes likes Trump, wouldn't you? I mean, maybe she didn't know who he was, because I understand not a lot of people do. But wouldn't you have a pause, like, okay, who is this? What does he do?
I think you would have to in those positions of power.
Well, you're going to have to now.
Yeah.
I mean,
in those positions of power, you don't have the luxury of going along to get along.
Yeah, no joke.
Like, you really have to play chess. Every move counts, every seat counts, every glance counts, Every conversation will be repeated somewhere. So I just think that if she did take the luxury to just go along and get along, well, then she's not a good politician.
Yeah, but a year ago or 6 months ago, it wouldn't have been an issue because nobody in their right mind would have brought someone of that stature into any group. Mm-hmm. And now they are.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
It's the pendulum swing we've talked about.
God, I hope not.
It is.
I hope we don't swing so hard to the right where, I mean, pendulum swing is, I remember in the 90s and early 2000s when the Republican, the religious side of the Republican Party was pushing to make sure that in science class, the teacher had to always say, and intelligent design, or, and the earth is 6,000 years old. Mm-hmm. And that ridiculousness made it so that the Republicans fell out of favor. Well, and if I remember, it went to the Supreme Court and it was ruled on in 2008. Well, okay, so that fell out of favor. Now we've got the Democrats who have some ideas that are fairly questionable. In a lot of ways, I think it could be worse, but time has to tell on that. You know.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, it's
there are good messages. I think that they just codified same-sex marriage. I see no issue with that at all. Matter of fact, I think now's the time government can say, "How about we're not in marriage?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's do it. Let's just, the government can get out of marriage, but. And this may offend some people, but I think we're going a little too far with the child, with forcing young children to experience sexuality outside of, what has been traditional arenas.
And I don't believe that it's the sense of tradition or traditional arenas that's the issue. I believe that it is the maturity and the length of time with which our children need to experience childhood.
Yeah, well, it's not just that, but if you put a date on, okay, all children have to learn about sex at 8 years old. Sure, some children may be prepared to learn about it at 8 years old, but some may not be.
Correct.
And where sex is an issue that can, tear families apart, and I guess this remains to be seen. In 5 years, are we going to see an uptick in high school pregnancies or anything like that? We've already seen an uptick in.
What if that's the purpose?
Yeah, we got to
because we're in population decline.
We got to beat the population collapse. Get them doing it, Hey, might be, but we have seen an uptick in ladies on OnlyFans. And could you imagine 10 years ago would OnlyFans be what it is today?
Hell no. But maybe that's the reason for population collapse is those traditional arenas kind of built this bubble that pushed the age of people starting families out so far that the families got smaller and smaller and smaller.
No, it's education.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because let's say the traditions, those are the people that are still making kids.
Yeah, you're probably right.
There's not one non-religious family in the town we come from that has more than 3 kids.
Well, that's because it's ordained of God.
But I know.
Live prosperous and multiply.
Lots of people that have I know people personally have 6 and 7 kids. Mm-hmm. From one dude and one girl.
Mm-hmm. I taught a lady in the class who had 18 natural born children. I was like
how many of them lived?
All of them. Because she says she offers up.
She had to look like one of them tunnels that lead to the subway as people are coming out at the end of the day.
She mentioned that she has like, I don't know, like 80 grandchildren. And I was like,
18 kids.
I was like, well, how does that work?
We need to honor this woman.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that is a feat.
And she said, well, my husband and I had 18 children. I about tipped out of my chair. I said, like you? Like, because like his, mine, and ours.
How many was adopted?
Yeah.
Some of them show up in an egg from, a different planet, maybe flies around.
Yeah. Because like his, mine, and ours, I have a large family. His, mine, and ours.
Yeah.
3, and 2. So I have 8. But like 18.
Now you have 5.
I have 5 natural born.
5 natural born children. So my sister's an impressive young lady.
I am helping population collapse.
You are. Now me, not so much.
You have replaced yourself, so you've done just the bare minimum.
The bare minimum.
I am an overachiever.
Yeah, that's right. You always were, though.
But yeah, 18 natural born children. 80 grandchildren and like almost 200 great grandchildren.
I've got to look up the record.
I mean, we had an aunt who had 10.
Who?
Aunt Barbara.
Oh, yeah. Well, Laura's mom had 12.
See?
Oh.
What is... Oh, okay. Listen, the bar has been set.
I'm sorry. 18 just does not come close.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So the greatest officially recorded number of children born to one mother is 69. They would have to have been.
Well, it says triplets, 4 sets
16,
of quadruplets,
okay.
16 pairs of twins.
16 pairs of twins, 7 sets of triplets, and 4 sets of quadruplets.
But she was still pregnant a lot of times. 16 and 7 and 4?
Well, just alone. 16 plus 7 is, on my math.
23?
23. So that's 27 times.
She was pregnant 27 times. I mean, I guess you could if you started young, like 18.
Start at 12. Good old style. And then, holy cow.
69.
I'll bet the last births, they didn't even call the doctor.
Just walking along, it falls out. Pick that up, Boris.
Well, they were probably all... she was a peasant from Shuya, Russia, the first wife of Fyodor Vasiliev.
So, listen, by the time I was pregnant with my 5th, I was done.
Done.
Like, it was the hardest. I was 35. It was the hardest pregnancy ever. But now that they're grown, like, I mean, I get it. She's like living life. 69 kids?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I mean, imagine what their house had to look like. And they were Russian peasants. So it was like a shed. Their dad had to stack them like cords of wood at bedtime.
Wait still. Don't kick your brother.
Anyway, so I don't know. Maybe there's other conspiracies. Maybe they are supporting Trump and they're bringing Kanye in and boosting him up because Kanye has said some pretty rough things lately.
So
to make Trump shine.
From the outside, it appears to me that Kanye took this liberty because Kanye is known for taking liberties and likes to force his opinions, his theology, might you have it, on everyone around him.
Very true.
It feels to me from the outside looking in that Kanye was invited, and he said, "Hey, man, can I bring a couple?" And without even thinking, which, again, you don't get that luxury.
Trump probably thought they were some rock stars.
Yeah.
Some other rappers and rock stars. He's probably like, sweet.
And to be honest, Trump probably didn't even know Kanye got an invite because he's so far removed from who's invited to those things. They're like, show up at this time.
Well, from what I understand, he invited Kanye.
So it's likely that Kanye took this liberty and that whoever was in charge of giving the Kanye the go-ahead took the luxury of going along to get along instead of being like, oh, this guy's kind of a loaded cannon. Maybe I should, like, I don't know, vet who you're bringing.
He is a loaded cannon, though.
And so it ended up being kind of the perfect storm. The problem is not that Kanye is bipolar and all of those things contribute to it. The problem is that Kanye is Kanye.
Very true.
He is his own worst enemy. And if there was someone in his life that like actually cared about him, they would sew his lips shut.
And then you got Bellagio or Bella Girino. What is it called again?
I don't know. Bella something.
The clothing company.
Yes. Oh, Balenciaga.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how you say it.
So they're in hot water and they're having but either A, they hired someone without vetting them, or B, Balenciaga did not care.
Yeah. There is no gray area on that. I think if you are Balenciaga and something like that goes out, that is a huge misstep or intentional. There's nothing in between.
It's
either way, it's bad, looks bad, you've hired bad, you didn't vet, you took luxuries that you are not afforded.
It's craziness.
because of your fame. You just don't. That would be the hardest thing about being famous is it's the constant overwatch and not just judgment, but they pick apart everything you do. Oh, he's wearing yellow shoes.
Well, yeah.
And he's wearing green laces. You know what yellow and green signifies, right? I mean, it's constant.
Well, it kicked off with a YouTuber named Shoe on Head. And she is she's as she would explain, she's a socialist YouTuber. So she's socialist, heavily left-leaning and all that stuff.
Shoe on.
But she has done a lot of work throughout the years. She's been YouTubing for years. She's I don't know. She looks like she's 22 or 23, but she's
been YouTubing for 30 years.
She's probably older, but she looks real young. But she's been calling out a lot of pedophilia and stuff throughout the years. And the crazy thing is she discovered this, made a tweet about it. It exploded. And all of her friends for people who don't know, there's something called BreadTube. Now, BreadTube is socialist and communist YouTubers. They if you ever want to know who they are, you've got the Peasants and Fausch and guys like that who call for communist overthrow, whatever. She was kind of a member of them, and they all turned on her. They come out, and last week, if you watch their stuff, it's all against her because she went against this big capitalist evil $1,000 a pair of shoes, but for some reason
that makes you question it.
Well, okay, so from the communist point of view, this is something that came out of I think Jacques Derrida and those guys, which are guys that were a part of the kind of postmodernist movement. They want to break sexual norms in children so that children break with capitalism because they think that's how it'll work. Instead of them all becoming hyper-capitalistic and joining OnlyFans and showing their fanny, that they will break with the traditions and break away from capitalism. I know.
Okay.
I know.
I don't know how. I don't know how the threads led them to that, but
I know.
Okay.
I know. Capitalism is, I guess,
sexual
a Christian thing, but it's not. I mean, our Pledge of Allegiance was written by a Christian socialist. You know what the original vote for, or the original salute for the Pledge of Allegiance was?
What?
I'm not going to tell anyone.
Oh, no.
But a young guy with a funny mustache in Germany did the very same salute. It wasn't until he started doing his salute that we dropped ours.
That didn't age well.
But anyways, but she called it out, and then it spread like fire, and then people looked in more to it. The weird thing is you could write it off as, oh, that's no big deal. But then in the papers on the table, you can see like the corner of a paper, and it's a Supreme Court trial.
Yep.
That's about child pornography and exploitation. And that's like, okay.
And it's a child in the ad.
And they're all children. It's a young girl in the ad. And then you look into a lot of people tied in with it, and there's a lot of creepy people. Those conspiracy guys just did a show on Pizzagate. Mm-hmm. That is Chef's Kiss. Talks a lot about these very people. One of the best ones that's quick is Martyr Maid does one.
Mm-hmm. On Pizzagate?
And it's a 3-part. No, it's on a lot of what we're going to talk about today, government ties to these child exploitation groups. So it starts out as Epstein, but then it tracks back to Maxwell Sr., the dad, and his stuff, and then all the artists in it. And it goes, he talks about Pizzagate for about 25 minutes in it. And there's no smoking gun, but there's a lot of
connections.
A lot of smell of cordite in the air.
Good hell. That's the problem with conspiracy theories that turn out to be true, is you could smell them from a mile away, but it was denial that you start to question. But I'm telling you, if it walks like a duck.
And Martyr Maid is not a conspiracy podcast. He's a history podcast. I discovered him looking at the My Lai massacre.
I'll have to check him out.
So he is not, but his shows, he does some of the best. And he doesn't, those conspiracy guys are if you want to giggle.
And, that's what they do is conspiracy.
But Martyr Maid is not conspiracy.
That's creepy.
But he does a show on it. And why do one, do our government officials look for pedophiles to tie in with because it gets them further? Or do pedophiles end up falling in with the government? Because almost every time there's a tie-in with a government.
So we've covered this theory before. Are you a psychopath prior to, or does it make you a psychopath?
The question.
Yeah.
So on to the finders.
The finders. So we are going to start this out with, when did Epstein die? August 2019.
August 2019.
The finders was conspiracy.
Yeah.
Until right after Epstein died, October 2019, FBI releases these reports.
Now, I have heard about the finders for 10 years. Now, say what you want about Alex Jones, but Alex Jones has been calling out Jeffrey Epstein for 10 years. Mm-hmm. He's been calling out the finders for 10 years. Mm-hmm. He's been calling all this stuff out. Say what you will about him, but he has He's been calling this out.
Yeah.
And he's been ignored until Trump got into office. Now there was a report that and this came up on those conspiracy guys, that through Bush and Obama there were about 500 child abduction trials and prosecutions each year. During Trump, there was 20,000 every year. And now that Biden is back in, they're back down to about 500 a year.
Oh.
So either when Trump was in, child abusers
went crazy.
They got their goat. And then they went back to normal. Like you're in the middle of doing your evil deed and
new president.
Biden wins, you're like, oh,
guess I'll go back to work.
All right. Grab your lunchbox and out the door.
Good hell, that's disgusting numbers.
Or they're getting away with it.
There's really no in between.
There can't be.
No.
Because these numbers don't make statistical. Or Trump's Justice Department was charging people with these crimes that were innocent. Like they were just driving down the road, snatching people up and throwing them in a orange jumpsuit and charging them. So what could it be?
So these are released eerily right after Jeffrey Epstein passes away, which gives a little bit of breadth of feel to this conspiracy, because those that have dove into this say it is the patient zero prior to Pizzagate.
Yes.
1987, we are like right in the midst of the satanic panic.
It's the beginning.
Across the country, in Florida, two well-dressed men in suits.
Well, they were wearing... they looked like they were dressed like salesmen, from what the people explained.
Yeah, like suits.
Blue suits. They weren't like tailored but they were trying to look professional.
Yep. They are babysitting, so to speak, 6 kids in a park. In
a white van.
Well, the white van is found a little later, but the mother of some other children playing at the park notices first that these 2 men are dressed well, and these 6 kids are motley. They are bug bitten. They are dirty. They are urinating outside. They don't communicate well. They are feral, like Tarzan kind of feral. So she calls the police, and the police come down and arrest them and take the children into custody. And in the course of this whole kind of arrest, they realized that they had traveled in this white van, no windows. It's literally Chester the Molester's van.
Yep.
And in the van, they find, it looks as though these kids are living in there. Yeah. Like they are literally living in this van.
There's a bed in there. There are buckets. Some of the buckets have been fairly recently used.
Yep. They find in here things that you wouldn't find if you were just traveling from one place to another. They find pictures of the children.
Yes.
In various states of dress.
Yes, mostly in various states of undress.
Yes.
And some of them posing.
Some of them close up.
Yes.
And listen, the salesman analogy is the perfect analogy because they look like catalog pictures.
Yes.
They find floppy disks.
Yeah, it's like 5 floppy disks. For those of you who don't know what a floppy disk is, open up your files, any file, go to the save area.
That's what it looked like.
And you'll see that little square with the little square like in a corner or up into the middle. That's a floppy disk.
Yeah.
Back in the Stone Ages, we used to use floppy disks. You could save a song on about 7 floppy disks back in the day.
Yes.
Maybe 6 if it was a short song. MP3 would have made it 4. But yeah, so, and they also have early computer, like a Commodore, whatever. And this is one thing that's not reported a lot of places. Now, this is back in even like really pre-dial-up days.
Uh-huh.
They had all the early technology
for internet
to jump on the internet through telephones.
Yeah.
So this is wild.
These children are between the ages of 2 and 11.
Yep.
And when they are arrested, it's Douglas Ammerman and James Michael Howell are the 2 adults. Howell falls face down on the ground and refuses to stand up or answer questions.
Does like a feigning goat imitation.
Tips over. And they take these kids into custody. Now, the kids, the 2 that could communicate, it's in the reports that the children were in a bad state.
Yeah.
They were hungry.
Yep.
They were malnourished.
They like the cops brought them food. One kid ate like 7 bananas, just one after the other.
Yeah.
Just killing these bananas. And the kids, the little one isn't wearing any diaper or anything. None of them are really dressed, or they're just grungy and dirty. And they started using the bathroom just on the floor.
Right on the floor in the interview room.
Yeah. They're just like, oh, well, now's the time to do it.
Yeah. So during the course of this interview, the 2 older children, who do have some communication skills, go on to tell the interviewers that they are currently being weaned from their mothers. Mm-hmm. They also go on to explain that they are not allowed to sleep inside the house, and they sleep outside in cages. And they lived in a watermelon field.
Not a Cabbage Patch field? They couldn't have gone the whole route.
They go on to describe Ammerman and Howell as their teachers, and that these teachers are teaching them to play games. Mm-hmm. One game involved disrobing a man, wearing his clothes, and going through his pockets for money. The 2 reported seeing female members of the cult naked and believed this to be another game as well. When they were questioned about bad touches, it was said that they both became kind of fidgety and told the interviewer that there is no such thing as bad touches. So all of the markers of child sexual abuse are here. Mm. Now, as they dig into the finders, they start to piece together what this cult is and where it comes from. So the cult itself was led by a man, Air Force veteran Marion Pettie.
Petty, I think Petty. So I say. Pettie, which is what'll throw you off, because it's not like Tom, the other Petty that we like, or the race car driver Petty.
Yeah,
this one's spelled different.
So he's also known as the game caller.
The game caller or the game master.
Yes. So he creates this cult. The idea of this cult, or commune as he likes to, they never say they're in a cult. It's just communal living.
Cults never do. You never see a cult come out
and say, we're a cult.
And say, yes, this is the,
Yeah. So the idea of this cult is that they live communally. They do all things communally. Intimacy is communal.
Well,
Children are communal.
yeah, I heard it explained a weird way that the women of the commune had to initiate interaction with the men unless you were Miriam. He was the one who could initiate contact with anyone. So a different spin on polygamy, if you will.
Yes.
Like an open polygamy.
Yeah. The strangest thing about this cult was the game master gathered all of these people together. It wasn't a huge cult, 30-something people. But he would give them challenges to do. And he would send them to Japan and install them like espionage into high-tech companies for them to learn, acquire, and bring back the technology from these companies. So he was playing chess with these people. And what I don't understand is he was allowing the children to be feral, therefore not creating the next generation of game players for the game master.
What if have you seen that show Hannah? Where that guy he's like a Russian guy or something, raises his daughter out in the woods. And what if he's trying to make that?
Well, the guy in Hannah was not kept in a watermelon field. I mean, she knew how to use the bathroom.
She was in a cave.
Well,
like she didn't know. Like when she first meets the other teenage boy that becomes her friend.
I must be thinking of a different show.
Yeah. She tries a Snickers bar for the first time.
Oh, I must be thinking of a different show.
Yeah.
Maybe. It just doesn't seem like a good business
plan.
But
it wouldn't work. But, I mean, honestly, I think it... Okay, go on. I've got my thoughts. We'll lay them out later.
The issue brought to wider attention after Skip Clements, a private detective and resident of Stuart, Florida, alleged with evidence that the CIA had compelled the U.S. Customs Service to cease investigating this. Now, the CIA got involved because they found information in the van that alluded to trafficking over borders.
Trafficking to China specifically, which is how the customs got involved. Customs got involved there.
So the customs, that's what I meant to say. The customs service gets involved because of the trafficking information that was collected between here and China.
Yeah, they had a Chinese to English dictionary, and then they had a pamphlet on what's for sale, if you will, between Chinese and English.
Yeah. So it is alleged with evidence that the CIA pressured and compelled the Customs Service to stop investigating that. And it's also alleged because this commune was used as a front to train agents.
Yes. Well, we do know that the CIA had sent a number of agents there. Now, this is in 87, mind you, so in 86, 85. They'd sent a number of agents there to learn how to use computers. And that the CIA may have possibly hired the finders to go out and learn other programs that they could bring back and teach the CIA.
Okay. On its face, not a bad idea. You have passed the responsibility onto a cult that you can then hang out to dry later.
Very true.
However,
you're letting these moral inequities happen
in order to do that.
Yes.
So
it's for the greater good, Betsy.
It's for the greater good. So these children are removed from the gentleman.
Mm-hmm. The police take him into hiding. A whole bunch of controversy happens over that. The reason the police did that is the police department was receiving death threats on those children. They were receiving 5 or 6 a day.
So I hadn't read that.
How crazy is that? So the police put these
People
children...
wanted to kill the children.
In a 2-year-old in protective custody because the department is reading... They're not receiving death threats like, hey, we're going to come down and kill you guys. They're like, we're going to find those children and kill them.
So the children are separated from these men. These men are charged. They were the police, whatever agency had them. I don't know if we had Child Protective Services, but something similar to that was receiving 500 calls a day from members of this commune, the mothers, so to speak, demanding the release of the children. Now, the mothers come down, and the children are kind of ad hoc, 1 at a time, 2 at a time, released to these mothers. The mothers are interviewed, and they basically play it off like, this is how we live, and we just let them experience things.
It's a Montessori school system.
Some of the pictures that were seized show the children like covered in goat's blood.
Yes.
And which this fueled the satanic connection.
Oh, and this became a huge part of the satanic panic, but then got buried.
Yes.
Almost immediately.
There was a photograph of a child in chains. There was some pretty raunchy photographs, and the mothers explained to them that we are rational people. We are not devil worshippers or child molesters.
We had the kids wear white robes while they sacrificed that goat. We were teaching them to process animals, and the white robes was to keep their clothes clean.
They basically came out and said, we just let the kids experience the world the way that it is. This is biology and anatomy.
I am not against youth learning how to process animals. I was very young when I learned how.
Yes.
I learned from our father. I learned in the neighborhood. I was a part of that experience. And hopefully it hasn't made me a sociopath, but if it hasn't revealed itself yet.
Still time.
There's still time.
There's still time.
But I still have a lot of questions. Of course, I was older than the 4 years old. I was...
Yeah. 8 or 9, probably.
8 or 9, or maybe even 10. The first time I was around it and the first time I was hands-on couldn't have been younger than 13.
Yeah.
Which there's some big differences between 4 and 13.
And the way, like, Dad didn't strip you naked and cover you in goat's blood.
He didn't put me in a white cloak. They put the kids in one of the pictures. The kids are wearing like a white ceremonial gown, like they're altar boys.
Yeah.
Or altar toddlers.
Yeah. So they go on to raid these properties while these men are being held for 6 weeks. And they find lots more evidence.
Now, the properties they raid are in D.C., right?
Correct.
Yes.
So it's called the Glover Park Duplex, and it's a warehouse. The source who revealed to the police in D.C., it's a confidential police source, that this is where the finders were, went on to say that he had been invited by one of the members to explore Satanism with them. We don't know if that's true. I'm just saying, if it walks like a duck. And, okay, first of all, Satanism is a word that's thrown around a lot. We've covered that.
And that could have been that guy where, I mean, if Jehovah's Witnesses came up and he was a Protestant, he might have called them Satan worshipers.
Yeah.
So, that's
just take it at face value, give it the weight that you want to give it.
And there's two kind of churches of Satan. There's the extreme libertarian church, and then there's possibly some people who actually, think that there's a goat that's going to appear that you can give it the brown kiss.
Well, rusty balloon knot.
Earn your pointy hat, if you will.
So
Biggie J says, wow, covered in goat's blood. Yeah, that's the thing is I've seen these pictures. You can't find them on the internet very easy. It used to be easier.
They're kind of buried.
Prior to probably about 2014, and 2016 killed it. But you used to be able to, if you looked up the finders when I first looked into them, these pictures were out there, and it was a picture. It looked like a little girl, but it could have been a boy because, again, they were at that age where they're not discernible just on value. And wearing this white cloak like an altar boy and covered in blood. And it was a black and white picture because apparently in the 80s they still had those. But it was... and it might have been the reason that picture was published is because a newspaper who was covering it couldn't publish much, but they published as close to the scariness as they could without crossing the morality boundary.
Yeah. So they also find robotics, which were cutting edge.
Oh, yeah.
All of this computer equipment.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like, I mean, even large companies weren't accessing this type of stuff. And it was reported that there was detailed instructions for obtaining children for unspecified purposes, including the impregnation of female members of the community, purchasing, trading, and kidnapping. And tons more pictures, tons and tons more evidence. So the evidence is mounting and mounting and mounting. And then a Florida judge released them.
Yep.
No charges filed.
Yep. And
so the CIA pressures Customs to stop.
They got released by the Florida judge, those two guys. The CIA, the Customs is taken over and another conspiracy. The feds pulled the investigation away from the locals and then shut it down.
Yep. They claimed that because it had crossed state lines, that they were in
because
charge.
it crossed national lines, or possibly Customs took it over. If it was just state, it would have been the FBI. Big J also says SRA is very real. What's SRA?
Satanic ritual assault? I don't know.
Satanic ritual abuse, yes. The Finders was first mentioned in the Franklin cover-up. Oh, yeah. We should do the Franklin one. I keep tying Betsy into this stuff. She's an innocent young person, and I keep corrupting her. Yeah, the Franklin scandal in the Boys Town. That'll be an upcoming show. First, we'll have to do some palate cleansers, like, aliens.
Shots of something you've got here, possibly.
Yeah. Anyways, go on.
So, ultimately, what we have are 6 children with 2 men who appear to be well-fed and well-kept. The children are not.
Are not. And
They are.
They just came in and pooped on the interview floor. We're talking like a 7-8-year-old.
Yes.
Like an untrained dog.
They are found with child pornography, and the children look to be abused in many, many ways. The children, the two oldest who could communicate, go on to actually say, without saying it's abuse, just outright say what's been going on. The customs gets involved because there's also found information that children are moving between here and China. They're told to stop investigating by the CIA. And it all leads back to D.C. And then, nothing. Bupkis.
Oof, gone.
But
the FBI is kind of collecting this information in the background.
Yeah, so...
Which they then release a month after Epstein kills himself.
So at vault.fbi.gov, you can actually go through and read all of the information that was released. It's not as heavily redacted as I thought it would be.
Yeah, true.
But you can go and read the notes, and kind of formulate your own opinion. To me, this feels very much like I wouldn't say large scale operation because it wasn't very large, but large enough.
One day,
organized child sexual abuse.
One day we need to invite another crazy person on besides just myself. Someone else to take some of the heat from this and talk about why do we think government entities seem to always be tied in with these child abusing groups.
There are some that would say that those connections don't exist and you're drawing conclusions where there isn't any, following little ghost lines.
Find me one that doesn't tie into the government somewhere.
Yeah. So let's talk about Marion because...
Yes. Well, first of all, when they went to D.C. and went through the house, they found 7 passports, all for Marion.
Oh, yeah.
And like 5 for his wife, who his wife worked for the CIA. She was a secretary.
Stenographer.
A litter bearer is what they used to call special forces in Vietnam. They would have that listed as their job because North Vietnamese, when they got a hold of a Green Beret,
totally different.
They wanted to do some different stuff to them. Litter bearers they didn't have any information.
Yep.
Never even been a job in the Army. Of course, there was ambulance drivers in World War I. But anyways, another batch of useless information. Hemingway was one of those. They found all these passports. But now, tell us about Marion.
So, Marion is former...
Air Force Master Sergeant.
Thank you.
Yes.
Air Force Master Sergeant. His wife...
CIA stenographer. Maybe that's the CIA's code word for, like the FBI might have one and the DEA has one, the ATF.
Yes.
I
need a code word for...
A code word?
Yes.
Yes.
But you were saying, which I was kind of aware of.
He had a son.
Who was?
His son was a pilot in a little outfit in Southeast Asia called Air America. Air America was, and Mel Gibson made a wonderful movie about it. Air America was a CIA, front company that transported drugs to the United States, heroin specifically, from the opiate triangle down there to the United States in dead GI cadaver, dead GIs in their caskets, in their bodies. And they actually got caught doing it. And the CIA, so how long has CIA been doing this? Because we've all heard of Iran-Contra, which was, Iran-Contra was in the 90s. I remember I was a kid when that happened, but we're going back, late 60s, early 70s. They were doing it then. So is the CIA, do they see a front open and say, hey, here's a way we can make more money to do clandestine operations, or maybe even line our pockets? I'm not trying to disparage anyone out there. Or is it like official work? And I would like to do a show on the OSS, because I think even the birth of the OSS has some things that need to be questioned. As someone who idolized them in my younger years.
The more stories we do like this, the more I'm convinced that somewhere in the world is a Dr. Evil, and he's got his little pinky up.
Elon Musk.
And he's sitting in his cave.
Carl Schwab.
And he's, yes, here's what we'll do.
We'll eat bugs and own nothing.
We'll put it inside of the casket. No.
It's crazy, but the CIA is born of this. And we'll have to do a show on the OSS and the CIA and where they come from, and kind of the ties they have into stuff.
You cannot fix this.
And Colby...
The CIA needs to be disbanded.
They do. Well, I'd say all of them.
All of the letters.
If you want to hear my political views, go to my other show. You'll get them on there. Anyways.
I refuse to do that show with you.
Let's do... Actually, I want your boss to come in. I think she's doing awesome stuff. Anyways.
All roads lead to Rome. Yes, that's what we're saying.
That is true.
If you just hang on to that little thread, it takes you right back to a government agency.
Yeah, maybe this stuff couldn't... I mean, look at Waco, the Branch Davidians. They got killed because they didn't have a federal tie. Maybe. Maybe all the rest of these kept existing because...
Maybe some thug showed up and he's like, listen... This is how we do business.
Flipping a coin. Be terrible if something happened to your church. Then David Koresh is like, I ain't paying your protection money. Yeah. And something terrible happened to his church.
Yeah.
All right. It's rumored Prince Andrew had enough control to get Epstein in or out of jail. And that's a big question. And why wouldn't he? He is, or was, the son. I mean, he's still the son of her, but she's gone now. The son of the most single powerful woman on earth.
Mm-hmm.
She controlled an empire. I mean, she had people in different continents that looked up to her and put her on, money.
The question is, do you think these people, Epstein, Maxwell, the prince, are they born like just rotten eggs? Or does the lifestyle, the luxury, the freedom, the lack of responsibility, the chase for the next high create what they become?
You know how every year in every sport in the Olympics, not in every sport, but there's multiple records broken every year because they always push and find that next envelope.
Yeah.
What if they're blackmailing each other and they just keep upping the blackmail ante every time?
Well, you'd have to.
And they've just got to keep it going. So Prince Andrew wasn't evil, but then he got forced in and he brought his buddy that did the what's his name will fix it show, and then over here, a guy named Kill Blinton started doing some stuff, and they just kept upping the ante. And then one guy kind of got in that middle of it where he's implicated, and in that implication he becomes the facilitator of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it just keeps building.
Like when you dance with the devil.
Or
you sleep with dogs, you get fleas.
Do you have to be this evil to attain those levels?
Okay, so.
All right, let's go. Yeah.
Lori says all of the above. That's an interesting thought because I am super interested in like genetic expression. That maybe there is a genetic component that there's a fraction of the population that actually has it.
Well,
That when the right mix, when the right, drops of this and 2 of that and 1 of those, out of little childhood trauma, out of mom with a lot of money.
a splash, a pinch of
Yeah, it's like a big soup.
pinch of daddy dies when you're young.
Yeah.
Splash of too many stepdads.
So when all of that comes together, then that genetic expression is activated and boom.
Sure. And let's face it, without sociopaths, we wouldn't be where we are today. Sociopaths have always led humanity to that next step.
Is that a good thing though?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I don't know. Are sociopaths always doing evil?
I would say no, but I don't believe the ones that are doing good are in positions of power. And if they are, then they start out good. Like, I'm going to do a good job.
What if you can't get that position of power
Unless
if you're good?
You're evil. Because of what it
You
takes,
have to
what's
be
necessary.
able to say that and do that stuff and step on those people.
I think you're right. So the good ones
But I mean,
living happy little lives in cottages, talking to themselves, or the unicorn in the closet. Mm-hmm. They're just, kicking along. The bad ones, politics. Positions of power.
all right, Biggie says, not to mention in the Balenciaga ad scandal, they had court documents about child.
Yeah.
Yes, we covered that.
Yuck.
Yeah, it's insane. They had kids holding teddy bears with heavy leather bondage gear on the bear. And you also look at the different artists that were involved in that and people in their group. They've all got this stuff. They've all got a lot of child molestation and the Podesta brothers there. Okay.
Did you see the Balenciaga runway show?
Probably not.
It was absolutely terrifying.
Have I seen a runway show in ever? No.
I'm going to show you some of their
All right. While you dig
looks.
that up, Big says cocaine importing agency, CIA.
Yes.
All of the above. Heard it costs $1 million just to talk to Epstein. Well, actually, Epstein got someone tried making an appointment to invest $5 million, and Epstein wouldn't even talk to him. $5 million.
Wasn't enough.
Because I don't think it was about investment. I think Epstein did something else.
100%.
Lori says bloodlines. Big J says Biden and Pelosi answer to the Pope because they are both Roman Catholic. Well, hey. All right.
Again.
What if it is? But this new Pope is kind of all socialist Pope. He's kind of...
Maybe he's just playing the part.
I don't know.
It's to push the pendulum.
And that pendulum, we got to watch out for that. We've got to be very scared that we're going to slip back to the other way. Free speech is always attacked by the party in power. When I say party, I don't mean Republican, Democrat, because the parties are only what their members are.
Yeah, they're little blurred.
I mean by what today is known as the left and the right, which I don't think it should be, but I think the best way that people have put it is conservative and progressive. We want to have enough progressivism that we can make our way out of troubles. But we want to have enough conservatism that we take our time making our way across the smooth land so that we don't get into new troubles. Mm-hmm. And so there needs to be a balance there. And the problem, that pendulum, it swings too hard to one side. And like right now, the progressives are they're very successfully killing free speech. They're killing your ability to communicate and to question. Yes, some things are abhorrent to question, but I feel better knowing all the stuff that Kanye said.
Yes.
I feel better knowing that those are either the thoughts in his mind or the voices he's listening to. I feel better knowing that because it allows me, maybe judgment isn't the better word, but it allows me to take Kanye at
It allows you to use your own discernment.
Yes.
It gives you back your power.
Yes. Instead of, say we got a guy, I think he's from Massachusetts, but he talks like he's from Texas, who says we're not going to use our military to go around the world, doing country takeover and build up. That's what he ran on. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then he became president. And a year later, we're going around the world and then doing country build up.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But I'd rather have an honest voice come out. And I don't know. That was kind of refreshing about Trump, that he would, Taco Bell would start rumbling at about 1. And so about 2:30, he'd get up to
tweet
to go to the golden throne. And he had that stream of consciousness that came to us, as ugly and gross as it was. But we got to see what was going on in his mind, like it or not.
It was obnoxious, but I get it.
Refreshing.
It was I used to say all the time, this man needs a fucking muzzle or a publisher.
The only thing is,
you knew who he was.
That's the only part of him I liked. I loved it, but you know me, I kind of dig this wild, crazy world we live in.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Big J says, they say nobody can tell Kanye what to do in general. And that is true, but can you talk enough around him to change his point of view on stuff? Like,
oh, yes. His point of view has changed so many times historically.
Especially someone who's in a manic mode. Man, I could adjust a person who's manic depressant like that. I could have him spun out, wondering what's going on.
Yeah. In both positive and negative directions.
My mind changes all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I get new information, I adjust, and I think Kanye needs some real friends. Damn it. He needs some real friends that'll pull coverage and not.
It'd be scary to be his friend.
Not that Fuentes couldn't be a real friend, but I think Fuentes
doesn't care.
Has an objective, and I think Kanye is a means to his objective.
Yeah.
And I worry about that. Not that I worry about that, because, well, who knows? Kanye may be our president.
Kanye?
How crazy would that be? But here's another thing that scares me. We have
Can you imagine Kanye's tweets from the throne at 2 a.m.? He said yesterday that we should all offer forgiveness to Hitler, and that porn is the real Holocaust.
Jeez. Just because your old lady was doing it. Anyways. Why did she get the butt implants? Every time I see a picture
She's
of her,
removed them now.
She looks like a tooth, like a molar that's been pulled out. It's it's heinous.
They were super hot at one point, and now
no, they're not. You know what?
They were so gross.
Hey, I like a large caboose.
But
I like to have the legs match. I don't want it to look like someone parked a potato on 2 toothpicks. They say if Kanye gets MK Ultra under the Getty, just like Britney Spears, and that's another big question. Okay. So Britney was put under conservatorship, with both of us were against forever. We were on that set Britney free thing.
And then?
But
have you seen her since they did?
I have not. What is she doing?
She's completely crazy.
Maybe her and Kanye need some conservatorship. What is she doing now?
She's just...
Because she was doing crazy stuff while she was on it, and I'm okay with that. But is she,
Yeah, she's...
She going all Fourth Reich crazy? Is that what we're talking about?
She's unhinged.
Okay.
As unhinged now as she was under conservatorship, and I guess.
But now no one's stopping her.
No one's stopping her.
But then again, she's not being forced to, do 5 shows in Vegas, and
I think, okay, maybe,
but I'm a little unhinged.
Yeah, like the crazy aunt that vacuums the ceilings and stuff. It's a little unhinged.
I don't know. Tell me about that.
But maybe it's okay to be unhinged.
Yeah.
Like, just...
Because I'm a little unhinged. I'm a little... look at me. If I research 5 things, 2 of them are conspiracy theories because I love reading about the craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
connect the dots. La, 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 la.
I gave up on Britney after I heard her talking to her kids in the car. Recording came out. Was that way back when?
No, this was after the conservatorship was released.
What was she saying to her kid? Her kids have to be like 20 now, right?
They're old. I don't know how old her oldest
Teenagers,
is.
at
Teenagers. But she's just... You'll have to look up her latest videos.
I don't follow enough Britney, guys. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, she's...
So maybe Kanye and Britney both need conservatorships. I don't think Britney's father was an honest conservator or that lawyer.
I don't believe that they need a conservatorship because the only people they're really hurting is themselves. But I think that those around them...
Yeah, where's your friends?
Yeah, like they need a tribe.
And this kind of makes you like when Kim Kardashian ditches old Kanye and gets with the comedy guy with the black circles around his eyes.
Yeah.
Peter.
Yeet, skirt.
Yeah. It kind of makes you go, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. This guy's funny, probably makes you laugh.
Kanye
this guy would go on 2 a.m. rants about, and was he?
He would be exhausting to be friends with.
Was he yes, he would. Was he? He'd be like being friends with a rabid alcoholic that lived in your house.
Yeah.
Or being, Oh. Lori said, what did she say? I don't know, Lori. Was she yelling at him? Was she cursing him?
There's a video out.
What was the tempo? Just give us the
tempo was she was like losing her shit on these kids.
Like mad at him?
Yeah. It was like a mom rant on steroids. Like, after everything I've done for you, and
really?
you leave your shoes in the hallway. I mean, it was just like, yeah. The problem is she is under a microscope. She doesn't have the luxury to have the mom rants that the rest of us do.
Yeah.
Which would be the biggest problem with fame, is that anything you do that is considered normal human reaction, I get it. She's got teen boys. I've had a few. They're rough at times. And yes, I would admit that I've not always been like the calm, let's just sit down and talk about how filthy this room is.
I've known you your whole life, and you've never been, okay, in your teenage years, you were a crazy person. But beyond that, like as a mother, you've never been an overreactor, ever. I
wonder where I get that from. We were raised with a non-reactor. So.
Oh, no, he did some overreacting. You know, teen boys they find buttons.
They bring it out in you.
They bring it out.
No, but I have yelled like, why does your room smell like that? I have. So I get it.
Yo, my son's downstairs. What you
There's a tipping point, a Rubicon, if you will, where one night your teenage son goes to bed and the next morning he smells like rotting garbage and it doesn't go away for about 5 years.
Hot garbage in July.
But you know, those kinds of luxuries that those of us mere mortals get to experience, she took it a little far. And it was weird to see like
Here's a question. Do you think she's sober?
Okay, here's the thing. Brittany has appeared to me to be under the influence of benzos, narcotics, something for so long that I don't know if Brittany knows that sober
Sober
Brittany.
doesn't apply anymore.
It's like it's not.
Like
it never existed.
Like the connections have been burned out.
So perhaps she is, or maybe she's just used up.
Well, I would say,
but like all of her videos are like of her like.
Well,
she doesn't say anything. She's got giant raccoon eyes, and her hair's a mess.
Let's remember her fame was built. It kicked off in the Disney Clubhouse, Mickey
Mouse Clubhouse.
Yes, it's kicked off there. But let's remember all of her fame through all her teenage years. That was both positive and negative in her whole life was geared around sexuality. Like she never did a song, praising anything for real. It was all just sexuality.
Yep. Yeah,
and so look at her now.
That's what I'm saying. They're created. These types of personalities may have a genetic marker, but they're created. Is it all an act? Question. I don't know.
Who's Aaron Carter?
Aaron Carter was just found dead.
What?
Another conspiracy.
Who is he?
So, famous kid. Let me pull up when he was found.
See, I spend all my time looking up this weird stuff and strange history notes that I don't know what happened today.
So he was a singer and songwriter. He was a pop singer.
Oh, was he one of the boy bands?
Yeah.
Which boy band?
So you can look at his images. It's a whole conspiracy about him.
Did he tattoo his head like that?
He did.
Okay.
All right. It's a whole conspiracy theory about him because he was speaking out about his brother. Being a part of some child sexual abuse ring. And then
we should do a show on all that one day because you got him, you got the guy from Linkin Park, the guy from Stone Temple Pilots, is that his name?
Yeah. So he was publicly speaking out about it, and then he
worst case suicide I ever saw, shotgun blast to the back of the head.
Yeah. We'll have to dig into that, but there's a whole conspiracy behind it because he was actually speaking out quite vocally that they were trying to kill him.
Little brother of
one of the
Backstreet
Boys. Yeah.
Okay.
He went on to have his own career and was,
tattooed his face.
Semi-popular, and then ruined his image by putting a bunch of
Don't
ink in his
tattoo
face.
your face because no matter what you say, you could be on point. But when you tattoo the face, it's kind of hard to take that on face value. It just makes it hard because
it changes your face value.
It does. I mean,
literally.
Mike Tyson never won a fight after he tattooed his face.
Did you watch the Mike Tyson interview with that guru, Sadhguru?
Huh.
It was hilarious.
Was it good? I do like Mike Tyson. I think nowadays his interviews are either off the rails crazy or really good advice for living a positive life. It's insane.
Yeah. So the Sadhguru, he says, so Mike Tyson's trying to catch him up, and he's like, so why do you think I'm here? And the Sadhguru says, I want to tell you a story. And he says there's a baboon and a bird or something, and the bird keeps trying to fly up to the top of this tree, and the baboon says, listen, I know how you can get to the top of this tree. And he says, if every day you eat my dung, you'll get a little higher. And so the bird's like, no. And he's like, no, I'm serious. I mean, if you really want to get to the top of the tree, if every day you eat my dung, you'll get a little higher. And Mike Tyson's just kind of looking at him like, what? And he's also, the bird doesn't. And wouldn't you know it, 10 or 15 days later, the bird continues to eat the dung and he makes it to the top of the tree. And Mike Tyson's like, okay. And he's like, do you want to know the moral of that story? He's like, you can eat a lot of shit to get to the top, but it ain't going to keep you there. Mike Tyson's like, that's exactly why I came.
Okay. We're going to let you guys go. We're going to end on a fun note. This has been the Finders Cult.
The Finders.
Next week, let's do, we don't even know what we're going to do yet because it's that time of year. But you can expect something not rapey.
We're going to cover...
Unless it's aliens. Aliens, we understand. Kegel Fu has dropped off the mat. We really need to get back into it.
We're going to talk about scary Christmas.
Oh, little Krampus action.
We'll get some Krampus in there. There's some other scary Christmas.
Build up for Christmas. Maybe we should do...
Did you see that they released like a scary Grinch trailer? Like he kills people.
Ooh. Like next level Grinch.
This
ain't your Dr. Seuss's Grinch.
That's terrible.
It's not going to be played by Adam Sandler. It's going to be played by a different Adam that's more scary. I don't know actors' names. Anyways, thanks for joining us. We hope you guys have a great week. If something pops up in the news, might try hopping on again sometime through the week. Just do another quick half hour. If Betsy can make it, I'll hound her into it. If not, I'll drag someone else on. I'm trying to boost our numbers on YouTube, so I want to try to get out more shows because apparently you can either be really good or you can do it a lot. I'm never going to be really good. Have a great week.
Have a good week.